Hey, no problem. No, they're getting the best part. So yeah, while I quit being a financial advisor, I'm, teaching ballroom dancing on the side while being a mortgage broker. I knew I had to find the answer. And so I found people that were actually financially free, which were guys that were often business owners and or real estate investors. And many of them were in their 20s and 30s. It blew my mind that they were financially independent. And some of them were younger than I was at that time. I was 28 years old. I'm thinking, how are these guys doing it like 25, 26, somewhere in their 30s? I couldn't even fathom being financially free before the age of 40. And that's if my business blew up, right?
Yeah.
So I had to learn what they learned. And what I really found out is that you're taught to always think about accumulation, always accumulating money, save up this big old nest egg, and then pull off little pieces of that nest egg, right? It's always like pull off that 3% or less, so you don't run out of money. Well, think about it. Like you save $1 million and you pull out 30,000 a year. That's not enough. You can't live off that. And so when I realized it wasn't about that, it was about what kind of income does it generate? Because that's ultimately what we all want. It's not about how big the nest egg is. We want it to actually generate income. And that's the thing I learned from these guys, that when you do real estate investing, for example, and there's lots of different types of real estate investments within real estate investing, and there's other what I call alternative investments that are outside what financial advisors offer. What you'll find out is that you can get paid even 10% a year income off of your money. So if you have that same $1 million, instead of living on 30,000 a year that you usually get taxed on pretty heavily, now you're living on 100,000 a year with the same money.
Wow.
Not to mention if it actually grows, it's not like the whole, rubber band effect of the stock market where you start to grow your portfolio and then it shrinks like it's starting to do now. And it grows again, then it shrinks, it grows again, it shrinks. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Right. Yeah. And then you get to the end, you say, well, that sucked. That didn't give me crap. That's really what's happened for most people. So when I shifted that and I realized, wait a minute, I can actually buy assets that produce income and they can grow at the same time, like real estate. It was a whole new thing. So that's what happened with me. Now, I also did it through business too. I learned that there's ways to create residual streams of income within my own business. And I know you guys talk about this a lot. I know even guys like you got like Jim Chester, right? I mean, he talks about different ways to create things to create more leverage in your business. I had that too, accidentally. So to give you an idea, in 2006, when I became financially independent the first time, I had real estate that was starting to work for me and creating passive income. But the thing that bridged the rest of the gap so quickly that I did it within a matter of months was in my business. It was actually one of my friends that was one of these millionaire mentors, right? Yeah, he was talking to me. He said, Chris, do you like doing mortgages? I said, well, I love teaching about mortgages, but I hate doing the paperwork. Like I just despise it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Chris, why don't you find somebody who does like doing that?
Yeah.
Now, in a scarcity world, right? And I know you guys know what I'm talking about. When you think there's not enough money, and as a result, you never think there's enough time anyways, but not enough money to go around. You think, well, I can't afford to hire somebody. Well, I went and asked the broker. I said, listen, is there somebody that would fit this profile? Somebody that would just like to be fed people ready to do a mortgage, and he just has to do all the work for me. And I'm thinking that's a ripoff for him. But the guy, the head of the brokerage company said, no, I know the perfect guy, Clark. Go talk to Clark. So I go talk to Clark and he's like, yeah, I'll do it. I'm like, great. Will you split me 50-50? Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't have to do squat. I don't have to find people. They just come to me. I'm being fed by you. Great. Let's do it. And so we created this partnership, right?
Awesome.
What was awesome is that I got to do what I loved. I got to teach people for like half an hour to an hour. It's like, here's how you use your mortgage. You can cash out money out of it. You can use it to invest, create passive income and pay for your mortgage and maybe more than your mortgage payment. And people are like, that's brilliant. Where do I go to get my mortgage? Talk to Clark. And they would talk to Clark, right? And the next thing I know, a month or so later, I get this check for like $1,000 or $2,000. I'm like, where's that freaking Staples easy button? That was easy. It was like, this is so cool, And I was like, well, I could do this with somebody else, right? And I remember I did with a wholesale jeweler. They only paid 5%, but if people ever said, hey, I'm looking to get married or get engaged, you're going to pop the question. I'm like, don't buy it from the mall. Go talk to these people. You'll pay a third of the cost. And they go and they talk to them, save them tons of money. And then that jeweler company would say, oh, cool. Chris referred you. And then they send me a 5% check, right?
Nice.
And then we talk about this like affiliate nowadays, but really I had no clue what to call it. I remember one of my friends called me Mr. Hookups. Like he still made me sound like a drug dealer. In fact, when people ask me what I did, I'm like, I deal drugs, just to buy some time to say, how do I describe what I'm doing? Because I've got passive income from real estate. I've got residual income from business because I'm not really doing this actively. I was spending a couple hours a week. I was literally living the 3 to 4 hour work week, like Tim Ferriss talks about. And yet I was making $4,000 or $5,000 a month, which was more than my expenses at that time.
Nice.
And that's how I became financially independent the first time. Now, how did I lose it? Because I know psychologically you're going to learn more from how you lost it.
Yeah.
See, I started getting too big for my britches. I know you and I were talking about before we go on the air. Sometimes, especially when we're in a professional field, we think that we know all the answers. So I'm 28 years old. I think I'm high and mighty. So I start gambling with my money. So instead of buying cash flowing real estate, I said, okay, I can make a few $100s a month or so off of this real estate, off each property. But you know what's sexier? Be able to buy a property, flip it, and make $50,000 or $100,000 or more. So I should do that. And so I started trying to get into the whole game of flipping and doing. So I buy, and I knew I was like, well, if a property appreciates, if I bank on appreciation, $100,000 property gains 10%, I make $10,000. But if a $500,000 property appreciates 10%, I make $50,000. So let's buy more expensive properties. Not realizing, of course, that 2007, then going into 2008, property values start dropping, especially on the high end of the spectrum, right? So I went, and not to mention, I also started a business with some of you guys might know Garrett Gunderson. We started launching a business in 2007. So I started cutting off some of my streams of income to put all my focus into that business. So I cut off my other residual streams of income, now my passive streams of income, although they were kicking in, they weren't enough to kick in for all the stupidity and pride from me trying to bank on appreciation of properties. And the next thing I know, I went from millionaire to upside down millionaire in about a year and a half. And I was in the hole about $16,000 each month. So
our hardest lessons, man, I tell you, but it's actually how, I hate to say it, it's how we polish the gem.
Sure is. Well, and that's where I learned to get more resourceful. And that's kind of what led to what I teach people to do today, right? Because I'm one of those people, I can't teach something I don't do. I can't BS very well. I'm just a crappy BSer. That's why I don't play poker with you, Ryan, because I just know you're going to kick my butt,
Your integrity is too high to play poker, is it?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't lie or BS, So yeah, that same thing is true. So when I was working with Garrett at the time, I was starting to develop my own process because I couldn't teach people how to get out of the rat race because I was back in it. So I changed my messaging. I started teaching people what they were asking for at the time, which people were saying, Chris, I'd love to hire you to teach us about cool things to do with money, but I can't afford to pay you. Things are so tight with this recession. I can't fund the money. Now, in the back of my mind, I wouldn't say this verbally out loud because that's kind of, business suicide. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, freak, I'm $1 million in the hole. There are homeless people $1 million richer than me right now. I bet you I could find the money because if I were in their situation, I would be grateful.
Yeah.
And so I would tell them, I would say, hey, well, if I can help you find the money, would you pay me? Well, yeah, of course. Great. Let me show you how to do this. And I would show them how to free up cash flow, which later, for those of you that are in the chiropractic industry for a while, if you've ever done anything with like Freedom Fast Track, or now it's Wealth Factory, they're now using my old cash flow system that I taught people how to free up money that I learned by going broke. So that's kind of where that came from. Yeah, it was brilliant. And the cool thing is it served people. It created a need because here's the one key factor. If you remember nothing else from my story, remember this. The thing that really got me out of this hole and also helped me prosper too. So it's not just getting out of a hole, but also where I was able to be financially independent the second time by the end of 2016 is that dollars follow the value you create for other people. It's always about
I want to stop you there just for a sec. Sorry to take you out of your rhythm. Can you say that one more time? I actually have it written down. And this is really important for doctors or professionals of any kind that are trying to run harder and harder and harder and harder. Say it one more time, what you just said.
Yeah. Dollars follow value created. So the value you create for other people is why they're willing to pay you. In other words, they have to value what you offer, your services, your product, whatever it is. They have to value that more than the dollars just sitting in their pocket. That's really what it comes down to. Your job is to figure out, how do I serve people, solve problems, or add value in such a way that they say, you know what, my life is better by having you or your services or that product in my life versus just having these dollars doing nothing. Because the whole reason people want dollars is to make their life richer in whatever way that is. So figure that out. For me, yeah, and by the way, and I'm going to add this specifically for those of you that have big hearts, but you have a hard time opening your wallet. And when I don't mean spending, I mean opening your wallet to receive. Those of you that don't like to receive, you're just giver, which is great. That's a strength. And I'm there with you. I've been guilty of this. This is why I'm preaching to you, because I can speak to this. Yeah. But if you're about always giving, but never asking in return, you're going to be a broke giver. You're going to be a charity, right? A broke charity, for that matter. You become nonprofit, and that doesn't serve anybody. You need to be for profit and very profitable, very wealthy, because, and this is really my mission, Ryan. I mean, this is why I'm doing now, even though I have $30,000, $40,000 a month of passive income coming in, I can shut down my business and live a much simpler, peaceful life than what I'm living, right? I can definitely get more sleep not flying to Alaska, the sun never sets, I mean, I can definitely have a more peaceful, easygoing life with just me and my family and just live in that circle. But I'll tell you that I believe that we're here on this planet for a reason at this time, that there are no accidents. I believe we have God-given talents and passions and gifts to give to the world. And the best way to do that is to have more money, to create a bigger megaphone for what you have. And my passion, especially for those of you in this health industry, oh my goodness, the world needs you. I mean, my wife just told me this morning, the CDC just came out saying if people have become more sedentary in just the last few years since COVID, if they don't get out and exercise more, they will become more sick to whatever illnesses are out there.
Yep.
Now, granted, I don't believe the CDC half the time, but for us that know health, even to a minor level, this is common sense. We've known this forever. But I mean, you need a bigger megaphone right now to take advantage of this. And the best way to do that is have more money right now. That is what drives me, because you can't give your God-given gifts and your God-given mission without you having a bigger megaphone, which is powered by that money.
Yeah, and when you're in survival mode, it's tough to get that out there.
Yeah, you got to. And your message, especially in the chiropractic industry, needs to get out there, because I know I've been blessed by chiropractic personally a lot. Heck, I'm even running marathons now because of it, So, and not just running, I'm actually doing okay. I'm actually doing pretty well.
Yeah, you are. You're doing more than just fine, bud.
So I mean, so that's really what it comes down to. And so, yeah, for me, it was always trying to find that win-win for people. How do I serve people? How do I give them what they're asking for?
Okay.
And the cool thing is you can change the message. Your delivery can be ultimately the same, but the message changes based on what people are asking for. And there's so many problems, so many things to solve, and so many reasons for people to want to pay you money right now.
Right. And as opposed to just putting things away in 401ks in the States what do we call them here in Canada? The RRSPs, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. There's so many different ways of being creative with your money than what is typically advertised. And the tricky part is that it's really trying to figure out, well, what's right for the individual, because you're going to have that bell curve of people that come into these types of investments or types of planning strategies. And there's not an A to Z for everyone. It's an A to Z for each individual, which is what I appreciate most out of you, is that it's not here's what everybody has to do. It's here's where you start, and here's how you build your foundation of wealth. I think that's the thing that I appreciate the most about what it is that you guys do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and that's the thing that you mentioned. I mean, sometimes your business is the number one investment. I mean, it's sad there's financial advisors out there telling you to take your money away and put it into stocks, into other companies, which you don't have any control over, to put it in there and gamble it there, versus betting on yourself. That should be the number one stock that you should be investing in.
I didn't understand what you said, though. I never understood what you just said there until I really got my head wrapped around what it is that you guys do. Investing in yourself, it's like, what, do I just go buy another course? Do I buy, that's what I always heard was investing in myself. Do I buy another piece of equipment? Do I leverage more staff, that was investing in myself. And there's a component to that, but I think where this is where most of the growing happened for me, was really understanding, what does investing in myself look like?
Yeah. That's true, because you're right. Because many people, especially if they're the coaching industry or any kind of industry, they'll say, really when they say invest in yourself means buy my crap, right?
Yeah. Totally.
And yeah, you you got to kind of call them out. And there's some truth. There's truth to that, but you said it. I mean, you really said the key here, which is everybody has different phases that they're going through. You have different needs. So you're right. Like it could be hiring that key position in your company to allow your company to blossom and grow, or allow you to blossom and grow, right? That could be the investment. It could be investing in that piece of equipment. It could be investing in education or how-tos and things like that. It could be like for me lately, I've invested a lot in mastermind groups, just like this, mastermind groups have been huge for me because I get access to other colleagues and peers that help elevate the way I am as a person, as a leader, and everything else allows me that actually translate to business to generate more revenue too. All that can apply, but
so let me ask you this question then. So, because there's different levels of people that are obviously coming into this group as well as other people that I come into contact. And the question is always like, where do I go with my money? What do I do with it? What are the strategies? And like, you have all of the different problems and obstacles that get into our heads. It's like, where do I start? Is this the type of thing that's right for me? Like, who is it? Like, who in general do you love helping, Chris? I mean, because I think that there's a mindset more than anything else, but who is it that you guys are helping right now?
Yeah. I mean, if you talk, like you said, mindset wise, those that are actually hungry and have the desire and willing to do it, that want something more in their life, that want something, they don't want just ordinary, they want extraordinary. They want extraordinary results. They don't want to live the status quo, mediocre life of the average American or Canadian or whoever, right? They want to live something better. They want to have a better life than just surviving and working their work until they almost die, and then miss out on their kids growing up, and then they're singing Cats in the Cradle with tears in their eyes and stuff, and all that kind of crap. Like, it's really somebody who wants something more out of life. Now, financially speaking, we can serve people at various levels. Usually one-on-one, people that have at least $200,000 are saying, I got 200,000 in home equity or sitting savings that just been doing nothing, or in crappy stocks or, stock market stuff or whatever. What do I do with this? Yeah, we can help people there one-on-one. And then we also have a group program that we have too, the Wealth Accelerator Academy, that helps people, even if you're just starting out. And let me give you different pieces of advice. Let me give you like almost like a next step for each level, wherever you're at.
That's where I want to go.
Because if you're starting out and you got zero savings, that's going to be your first goal, is build up some savings, right? Just emergency savings even, because I'll tell you, emergency savings becomes what I call abundance insurance. And I'll tell you, here's one thing I've learned is that when you're living in scarcity, especially as a business owner, you will work 4 times, 5 times harder because you need that next patient. You need that next dollar. You have what I call business breath, right? You're just reeking of it. You're the person that throws out your cards at every networking event and slicing people up with paper cuts because those cards are going at them so fast.
And people really feel that.
Yeah, people feel the desperation, right? And it gives them this icky feeling, we all have, to some level, have some sort of intuition, right? I believe a lot of us do. Especially if you're in this industry, you probably have a lot. You feel it. When somebody's desperate, you don't want to do any business with them because you wonder if they're really working for your best interest. Yeah. So the best thing for you to do is even if it's $5 a week, even if you just do it automatic out of your bank account, it goes into a savings account, do it. You won't miss $5. I guarantee it. Even when I was most broke, anybody can do that. Even $1, right? You can just do it directly, have them coming out all the time on a regular basis. And what will happen eventually is you'll build up enough cash to say, you know what? I don't need that one patient now. That one person that's just a pain in the neck. And I don't mean that, pun wise, but it kind of is a pun, I guess. But you know what I mean? Like, they're really a pain in the ass, not just a pain in the neck, right? But they're just a horrible patient. They suck all your energy. They're vampires. Yeah. You could say, you know what? I know the perfect person for you. They're right down the road. I hate them, but I want you to go to my competitor and just drive them nuts, right? That's where you want to send those people, and then work with the patients you want to work with. That's what happens when you build up that savings. So start to build that up. Even if all you have is 10 or 20,000 bucks, great. Keep building it. Once you get beyond that, maybe beyond like 20,000 bucks, then there's strategies like infinite banking, where you can actually start saving in better places than just your normal savings account, right? You can use things like a life insurance policy where you can store it in there tax-free, let it grow, and you can leverage it and use it even liquid in your business. But I warn you, don't get the boring normal ones that most insurance agents will sell you that have the too short tie and their big bellies hanging over and stuff. Don't buy that. You want to buy one that's actually like a max ROI type of infinite banking policy, as I call them.
What does that mean? So for people that have kind of dove into this before, I think for a lot of people, they're like, they've tried it and they've gone, oh, this is just this whole life insurance thing. What does that mean? Like, what does a good policy look like for most people?
Yeah. So those average policies you usually will buy, especially whole life. Those of you that don't know whole life, I mean, there's death insurance, typical term insurance, right? You only cover for a term and that's it. You die. That's the only way you get paid.
In 10 years, you got to go retest and away you go.
Exactly. Yeah. That's term. Everybody typically knows that's like auto insurance. Whole life has two elements. They have the death benefit still, but they also have this living benefit, which is called cash value, which is really that tax-free savings account.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is with traditional whole life, if you buy the normal one, it's all front loaded. So where term gets more expensive over time, whole life gets cheaper over time. It's front loaded costs and then it gets cheaper, especially after those first 2 years. Well, if you bought like the traditional one that I bought about 16 years ago from a guy, actually Garrett's partner, funny enough, that policy, 100% of all of the money I was putting in those first 2 years went to pay the insurance costs, which also pays the insurance agent, right? It pays their commissions. So they're saying, no, this is the way you do it. Just do it this way. Don't worry. Be patient. 5 or 10 years, you'll finally have some money you can actually do something with. I'm like, okay, I can do that. But when the recession hit me, I couldn't afford to keep paying $12,000 a year. I'd already paid $25,000 into it. They want me to pay more. So I ended up losing all $25,000 because I bought that traditional one. Okay. So what I talk about is buy the one that has the lowest fees you can possibly get. And it's not a company. It's actually how the agent, I mean, companies help, but it's the agent that knows how to manipulate those fees. And we actually have a team that does that ourselves internally. But you get that as those fees as low as possible so that instead of having 100% come out in those first 2 years, you have zero goose egg in 2 years. Instead, you might have about 85% of your money in 2 years. So if I would have put in the same thing, that $12,000 a year, by year 2, I wouldn't have had zero. I actually would have had pretty close to about 20,000 plus in my account, so most of my money would have already been there. That's the kind of policy you want because that money you can actually access just like it's a savings account.
Yep,
so it's not
pull
locked
it back out and use it for other things.
Exactly. It's part of your emergency fund. It could be part to invest in your business. The cool thing is there's a strategy you can do where you can actually get a line of credit against it from the insurance company. So really the money's still in there growing and doing its thing, but then you get a line of credit.
Even though you borrowed, it's still growing.
That's right. Yeah. You're not borrowing. You're not pulling the money out of it. You're just getting this money from the insurance company or from a bank. They give you a line of credit because they say, hey, that's in there. It's like a house equity, right? Like a home equity line of credit. They'll say, oh, the equity's there. Great. We'll give you a loan because we know this is guaranteed to always grow. It won't lose money. So they give you the money. You can use it for whatever the hell you want, so you can use it to, you could gamble it in Vegas if you want, but that's kind of dumb, but you could. But you can use it for those emergencies. You can use it to invest in your business. Maybe it's to buy that next thing you're investing in yourself, right? It could be the thing that you're going to buy a real estate property, which is what I often use it for. I keep a lot of my emergency fund because my wife wants to keep $250,000 of emergency fund liquid that we don't touch, we don't invest. Well, that's a lot of money to earn 0.nothing% at the bank, right? My bank's still paying 0.05% on a savings account right now. But I can use this money, put it over here, earning like 4 or 5%, pay no taxes on it, make a lot more. So, and I have like over $200,000 that's earning 4 or 5%. Do the math. That's like earning $8,000 or $10,000 versus earning a couple hundred, maybe $100 a year. That's the difference.
Got it. Okay. Okay. And then, so what's the next step? Because you take people in so many other different directions. I want to know, like, what are some of the other how do you help us? Yeah,
there's a lot of ways. If you need to free up cash flow, I recommend just go to moneyripples.com and there's an ebook on there called Beyond Rice and Beans, 7 Secrets to Free Up Cash Today. That's actually how not only did I get myself out of that hole, but also it's helped many, many other people too. Great, easy stuff, like 7 steps that you can do to help find more money, right?
Awesome.
The other thing is I also have a Money Ripples podcast, which is great. I have a Money Ripples YouTube channel. We talk about a lot of these concepts. I'll tell you, if you have at least, $50,000, $100,000 or more, you should definitely be looking at how do I start creating passive income outside of my business too? Like, how can I start getting money to work for me? It's kind of like, if you're going to hire more team members for your practice so you can have a little bit more time off and have more freedom, same thing, but now your team members that you have are not people, they're Franklin's, you know, in the US, right? Ben Franklin's $100 bills, right? You get your money working as your team, making money for you. And there's some cool ways to do that. I mean, even I know, Ryan, you're in the academy that we're in. We even actually promote a couple of them. One of them has a minimum investment of like $100. Another one has a minimum investment of $1,000, but they're paying right about 10%, you know, 9 or 10% a year, pretty consistently, you know? So now granted, if you all you got is $1,000, you're not going to get rich off that, right? You're going to make what, $100 a year? That's nothing great, but you know, you got at least 20, 30, 50,000 bucks. That could make a little dent. That could give you an extra few $100s a month, you know?
Awesome. Okay. And for a lot of people that are just like, I just want to understand this more. I want to get a good grasp of kind of where I'm at with all this, kind of the starting point. I love the Wealth Accelerator Academy because it's just an easy way to learn where is my money, what am I doing with my money, where do I start with it, how do I get organized around it. For those people that just want a better understanding of where do I sit, I really like it doesn't cost very much. It's a step-by-step program for helping us in figuring out where am I. I just love I love that program that you offer, so that there's not that barrier to entry. There's not that that pressure of I don't have enough. I don't know if this guy's right for me. I don't know if the company, I don't know if it's, I just love that you've got programs for us to be able to go, okay, so I want to figure out where I sit and whether I'm ready to go and do some of these other things. So I love the Wealth Accelerator Academy. Inside of your program, you've got other tools to go and learn. So it's not I just have to go and invest a bunch of money and hope to shit that, pardon my French, hope to hell that Chris knows what he's doing. You can get in and learn a lot more about your money within your programs that you're doing. I love that about what you do. And ultimately, that's your passion.
Yeah, it is. It really is my passion. And that's kind of part of my purpose, right? I mean, my purpose is really to elevate people, become better stewards, to live happier, more fruitful lives, you know? But it's true. Like, it's funny when you say like, yeah, I know it's kind of a sensitive subject, you know, people might be embarrassed. You know, a lot of people might think that. It's like, you realize who you're talking to. You're talking to a guy who was over $1 million in debt, had no money, no credit, had to dig his way back out of it, you know, without going bankrupt, you know, even though that would have been easier if I did, but I had to pay off all that debt and then get enough passive income to be able to say, now I'm work optional. I can quit or just keep going. Right. And, you know, trust me, no one, if anybody should be judged, you should be judging me, right? And say like, dude, you are a mess. You suck, you know? And it's true. I did, you know, I was a completely depressed mess, you know? And that's the thing is like, if I can do that, like I can guarantee anything in your situation is easier and better. You have more potential than I ever had myself.
I want to write down some of these things just on the screen so that anybody that's watching the video has access to some of your tools, if you're okay with that, Chris.
Yeah.
I'm going to write down, what's the website? Where do they find you?
Yeah. moneyripples.com.
Okay.
Make sure you don't make that R and N, you know, just that little change will make that a totally different website. In Money Ripples, I mean, don't make the R and Ripples an N.
Yeah, totally. They're the programs that are easy to access, that are not expensive at all. The Wealth Accelerator Academy, which comes with a Facebook group and lots of assistance and programs and ongoing discussions.
Monthly calls, actually, and we're actually on them, you know, live, and you get them recorded too. But yeah, like I'm on them, answering questions for people.
Okay, and I just want to ask you a question. I want to see if diving into this deeper with you is right for me. How do I get a hold of you?
Like of me personally, right? Or just our company?
What's the easiest way for someone to get a hold of you?
Oh, just email Chris@moneyripples.com.
Perfect. Awesome. Okay. Is there any other massive learning tip, story, that you'd like to share before we're finished today?
Yeah, I think I'll just give some quick piece of advice here. Many people will say like, well, what do I do right now? Right. And I gave some advice for different levels. I'll just say this, the general theme, what you want to do with your life. And you kind of mentioned it, this first point, Ryan. So the 3 points are this, is get lean, get liquid, get out, right? Get lean, get liquid, get out.
I gotta
Get lean just means
I gotta write
you
that.
type that up. Yeah.
Get
So get lean. So what get lean means is that, start really tracking your money. I like to use mint.com or the app Mint. Great place to go to just really start seeing how much money's coming in, how much money's going out. Really, this is not about budgets. Budget, by the way, is like something you do after you've tracked your money for at least 6 to 12 months. Because the truth is you can't really budget when you don't know how much you're spending, right?
Yeah.
And this is more than just spending. This is also looking at how do I generate more income? It's looking at both sides of the equation, not just how much am I spending. But it does mean if there's expenses that aren't serving you, get rid of them. Even in your practice, if you're saying like, man, maybe this person on my team is an energy leak. I had that with one of the chiropractors I worked with. He was coaching a lot of other chiropractors too. But in his practice, he had tons and tons of employees. And him and his wife had to work 80 hours a week each in their practice.
Just to pay the employees.
Just to pay the employees and to pay themselves even just a middle-class salary. And I was like, guys, like why are you paying all these people? You don't even need half of them. They're sitting around because they make you feel good. Like you're really paying for staff and stuff. And I said stuff because they had things that they could have sold off, like even a rental property that they could have made a ton of killing off of, paid off some credit cards, freed up $1,000 a month net, but they're like, yeah, but it's good. It makes us feel good and powerful. Well, no, it makes you broke. Is what it does. So that's what I mean by get lean. Just look at what's really productive in your life and what's not. Get liquid means make sure you're not trapping your money, put your money in prison. Don't put your extra money into paying down your house where it gets trapped in there and you have to ask the bank for permission. Don't put it into those retirement plans, whether it's RSPs in Canada or 401ks and IRAs where you can't access it, especially if it's a company 401k, even worse. Because then you have to quit or get fired even to access that money. Don't do that. So don't put your money in prison. And then get out is, hey, maybe you have money in prison already. How do you get it out? How do you get it out and working for you? So this could be money sitting in savings, not, losing to inflation. This could be getting your money out of that, right? Getting your money out of the stock market, which has already lost 20+% this year. I was telling people last year, I think it's going to go down, and it did, right? Get out of that, get out of equity from your home if it's not serving you. Like find ways to get your money to pay you. And then that's where we come in. That's where we can help provide guidance and direction and new concepts and ideas of how to just totally change your finances where you become work optional and you practice because you want to, not because you have to.
Love that. Brother, listen, I really appreciate you investing your time and energy in helping all of us and anyone that is looking for guidance with what to do now and in the future. I highly recommend that you follow Mr. Chris at Money Ripples, whether it be your podcast, whether it be in your programs, or even just reaching out to Chris. I've watched you guys for years, back even from what was the original book? It was like
Freedom Fast
Killing
Track?
Sacred Cows and all the different things that you guys went through, right? Like I mean, even 10, 15 years ago, I've literally watched all the different things that you guys have gone through, and it's been an amazing trip watching where you come to and seeing how you've been able to help those of us that focus on what we love, and for you to be able to focus on what you do and love, and able to assist us. It's amazing to see, buddy.
I appreciate that.
Listen, Chris, thank you. I'm going to say bye. If anybody has questions or wants any of that information that Chris Miles and I have gone through today, please make sure to drop questions in the comment section of the group. Chris is in there, so he can reach out to you as well. Don't hesitate to reach out to this fellow. You guys have a wonderful week. Chris, thank you, pal. I'm going to say bye, and I'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Thanks.
Appreciate you.